You've got the management here, and I am going to walk through this poetry analysis of the poem at the end of the Forrest Fenn box this evening. All right, let's get started. I'll spare you the part here where I read the poem aloud. I suggest if you want to read it here, go ahead and pause the video. I do suggest that you also read it aloud and to yourself because, as we're about to discuss, poetry is very nuanced pertaining to cadence. And sometimes when you say things out loud, then you get a better idea of the rhythm. This poem is considered narrative poetry with rhyming quatrains, which in human speak means it tells us a story. It's in 4-line stanzas and it's an ABAB rhyming format. Now, we already know that JCB modeled this after Forrest Fenn's 6-stanza, 24-line poem, also in ABAB rhyming format. But there are a few things that are different. A major standout is the non-traditional use of capitalization and punctuation. Forrest Fenn did follow the standard. Every first letter is capitalized, and at the end of most of his lines had some sort of punctuation. However, JCB here is all over the place with capitalization and punctuation. So I made the assumption that in between a capital and the next period, that's all meant to be one sentence. One caveat to that is there are some places where he's put commas at the ends of lines that he doesn't necessarily need to. That makes it grammatically incorrect. Now, I know that there have been some typos throughout the book. I have the physical book, the first edition, and then so all the typos. And then I also have the ebook for the lion's share and the Appalachian Trail box, but I do not have the ebook for this, so I'd be interested to see if any of the punctuation changed in this poem in the ebook for this. All in all, the variations in the tradition from Forrest Fenn's poem stand out to me as clues. Something definitely he's paying a nod to Forrest Fenn, but he's definitely doing something of his own, so I think we need to take note of those things. Okay, the first stanza. I cruise along a road I know and park my car just off the side near where I'd searched for heavy loads. That's one of the commas that's not needed. It was not there, although I tried. The way that I'm interpreting this is he searched for Forrest Fenn's treasure for 4 years. So he had probably a big solve in mind. He had his, golden egg, if you will. And I believe that that place where he thought that he was going to find a heavy load is where he is starting this adventure. Begin it where cool water flows and follow through the canyon round. Take in the rolling highs and lows, pass by a place where once was brown. Again, you're going to see the sentence versus stanza format. I'm really paying a lot of attention to that in my understanding of this. The word flow here to me indicates that it's not a pond or natural lake where water is still. Rolling highs and lows describing a canyon reminds me of both the wave in Coyote Butte, but also in reference to water, I'm thinking rolling highs and rolling lows of rapids as the water level changes. And then pass by a place where once was brown. You can see that brown was capitalized. Now, if you're familiar with the Forrest Fenn poem, the original brown was part of that poem as well, and I believe it was a person. I'm not familiar enough, but that is what I'm going to cover in part 2 of this video, is the compare and contrast of Forrest Fenn's poem with Jon Collins-Black, and what is alike, what is different, what could possibly mean the same things to help us figure out a better location. So stay tuned for that. From here you are more on your own. The path is always drawing nigh. The compass points now towards the home of point and tree and seeing eye. I went a little bit out on a limb on this one. No pun intended. The first 2 lines are complete sentences, while the third runs into the fourth. The compass points now towards the home of point and tree and seeing eye. The compass always points north. We know that. No matter what happens, the compass always points north. You can turn things around, you can move your body. Compass is always going to point north. So Trees have what looks like eyes on them sometimes in their bark patterns, and you can use them to navigate through the forest. These eyes come from when a branch falls off a tree because it's dying, and then the spot left on the tree trunk will look like a eye shape from where the tree's trying to heal over top of that. Trees grow more branches on their southern side due to the exposure from the sun. Therefore, the side of the tree that's exposed to the sun is going to have more eyes on it because more branches will have fallen off from dying. I also continuously see references to secret societies and the all-seeing eye in this book. And honestly, what would an American treasure hunt be without conspiracy theories? I'm getting major national treasure and Dan Brown vibes all the time. That could be a whole theory on its own throughout the book. Stop just beyond the camper's blaze. A thinker's stone is all you need. The spot is set with marble gaze. A white merc shows up on the seat. Now, camper's blaze, that could be any number of things. Honestly, any of this can be interpreted as any number of things, but to me, I'm thinking three different things. Camper's blaze could be a blaze on a trail marking the direction towards the campsite. It could just be the camper's blaze being the campfire. There could be a big old fire pit. Or it's just a trail's blaze and the hiker is a camper. The Thinker's Stone could refer to the famous Rodin sculpture, The Thinker. Everybody's seen it. It's the guy that's really pensive and he's resting his chin on his fist. But the possessive punctuation throws me off of that. I'm thinking it's more along the lines of what I've heard called a worry rock, which is basically the original fidget spinner, but just a small, smooth river rock that you rub with your thumb and hold it in your hand just to kind of calm your mind. In this analogy, a thinker's stone is all you need. We are the thinker if we're using a worry rock. JCB has said in an interview that he did not physically mark anything to indicate the treasure is near. So there's no physical marks anywhere on the treasure hunt that's meant to indicate that you're getting close or to direct you in a certain direction. The term shows up to me means it's there and then it's not. So quartz can turn white when it's heated, assuming in this case it's being heated by the sun. So maybe a certain time of day, the sun hits a rock and it gets warm enough to where it activates whatever minerals are in that quartz in order to make it glow. Near here, it's nestled all in dream. I've other treasures left to hide. I'll miss the golden bending stream, but I must go back to my ride. Dream here can be interpreted other than sleepy time dream, but as a vision or an ambition, saying he's hiding this with high hopes. I'll miss the golden bending stream could reference the reflection of light on the water at golden hour. What's important to me here is I think that this is the part where it starts to become more like poetry. And this particular stanza, I think ride here means life. This is just a really bittersweet element that I clung to. His time searching for Finn's treasure was a big adventure for him, and he said in many interviews how much that adventure changed his life, even though he didn't find it. And writing this poem is an ode to Finn. He says that in the book. And then this is him, this particular stanza is him reminiscing on old times, but knowing that he's got to continue his new journey and his new life. You know, he's married now, has 2 kids, he's written this book, he's got to go back to his ride. You know, we're all just riding on a big rock through the universe, right? So first thing I want to call out, and I put it in green here, Here, is a corrected typo. In the first edition, it was Here. In the newer editions, it's Hear. So listen well and hear me all. Your efforts will be worth the high. If you can mark warm water's halt, you'll bring it back full weight and dry. Okay, so this is my big aha with this one. One thing I've consistently noticed throughout the book is he'll use specific things to hide clues in plain sight. For example, the word search, the words that stood out in a traditional word search left behind anagrams for more clues. Applying that logic to poetry and having an A-B rhyming pattern, you will likely need to put the clue in part 2. Example, A1, A2. Line 1 and line 3 rhyme, line 2 and line 4 rhyme. And you're going to need to put the clue in part 2 because you have to use a specific word in part 1 to make it rhyme. Here, the big clue is full weight and dry. Warm waters is contradictory to cool waters, which is where the poem started. Here, I think we go from cool to warm in the same body of water. And I think that happens from a water level change in a dammed lake or river, indicating that in the winter when the water is low, it's exposed. And then if you can get to the treasure before the water is its highest, when it's warm, it will still be dry. So you've got to know where I believe the Corps of Engineers calls it the 100-year flood line. So you got to know where the flood line is. And then as long as you get there before water hits the 100-year flood line, then you should be able to find it nice and dry. That is it. I want to thank you for checking out this video. I hope it was helpful. I do have a full write-up of this theory on my Gumroad. It's themanagementAT.gumroad.com. It's the Forrest Fenn part 1 of 2. I mentioned this earlier, but I will be making a part 2 of 2 where I go into the similarities and differences between this ode to Forrest Fenn and the original Forrest Fenn poem. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get notifications when it comes up.